What do I got to move over?
The headline above your head.
The headline above where?
Mm-hmm. How do we heal the deep divide in the country?
Do you need it down?
No. So what it is, yeah, like that. There you go.
Is that better?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay. I don't know if I can change the layout on here. Hold on. This is way different and way new. It's off still on phones.
Just a hair.
Do you need me to like resize it? Hold on. Like this? Is that better?
There.
Right there.
Right there? Okay.
Right there. Do not, don't move.
Do not move. Okay. The good news is I can, like, my chat's over here, so I don't have to worry about it, right? So I can move my camera wherever I need to, which makes this, it's a lot like OBS, but okay. Let me go ahead and bring this up, and then let's pause.
I think what some people end up doing is, like, if they move themselves, they do the top corners.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that. I could, boop. I can float up here. Nope. It told me absolutely not. Now, does that work?
I don't like that I can't see you.
Oh, now you're... Oh, why can't they make something...
That's fine, right there. Just stay there.
Do you want me to make myself a little bit bigger?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so, again, I'll do this welcome in. It looks like I got 28 people in here. I appreciate it. Or 11 people. I can't really tell, so I want to tell you all. Thank you for all coming in for something new that we decided to launch. Normally, you know how we run these. And they're usually pretty divisive when it comes to how we engage with people. And we wanted to do something different, and we've been talking about this for a long time. And I want to introduce you to what we've come up with, which is called Hot Take News. And essentially, I need to work on the logo a little bit at the top, which I'll fix soon and later. But it's essentially a take on like news stations, and we are going to be officially starting this as our podcasts. And my co-hosts with this are going to be Jedi, Phoebe, and Stacy over here on your right-hand side, or however your phone looks, or if you're on a tablet. So on behalf of all of us, we want to welcome you into our podcast. And thank you for all the love and support that you guys have shown over the last couple years, that you've either been in a live with them or you've sat on a panel with these people. Please make sure that you show some love to them. It's imperative and crucial to know in this type of temperature and climate that we are in right now. Sometimes complex conversations get emotional, and deep critical thinking goes out the window, and it makes it really, really tough for us to focus on how do we talk about these things. So this podcast was where we came up with this idea. It was actually a brainchild of mine, but then how it all formatted was a combination of Phoebe and Jedi and Stacy all coming together, and us just having conversations in and out and about off the app of TikTok to figure out where we wanted to go. So without that, I'm going to make an introduction in each one of you. You guys all know who I am. I'm Allison. I DJ on Saturdays for the most part. I like to spin. I'm a trans woman. I'm 46 years old. I do a lot of discussion panels all across the panel, and I'm friends with a lot of people in the community, some big creators and some small ones. So I'm going to let introductions go over. We'll start with Jedi, then Phoebe, then Stacy. And we'll start going from this. And these will be 1 hour long. They will be published on Spotify. You will be able to go out. We'll provide links in our local, our relative locations that we are all in, whether that's Discords or direct messages through TikTok, you name it. But look for the Spotify list, and you can listen to it if you didn't make it in today. So over to you, Jedi.
All right. Hello, everybody. As you guys all know, I'm Jedi. I'm a 45-year-old intersex trans man. History, political science, and American history mostly, and religious sciences are my main focus and my passions. And with that said, I'm going to pass it on to Phoebe.
I'm Phoebe. I'm 41, a cisgender woman. Currently been in a long-term heterosexual relationship. Parent, young child, so I'm very involved in what's going on as far as education and what that looks like for kids. I'm also an athlete. I do have a background in medicine as well. So a lot of things going on medically, super into, very interested, as well as trying to make sure that our children get the most information at the proper times so they can understand more of what's going on with the world. And a personal thing I am doing, I am Kanaka Maoli, and I am trying to reconnect to that side of my family and get a bit more in touch with those roots, including learning the language, which is an adventure I am going on with my child.
Hey everybody, I'm Stacy. I've been a truck driver now for nearly 10 years, 31 years old. Deal with politics quite a bit. Y'all see me live every Friday just about. Yeah, I've been missing a few days here and there. With that being said, I primarily try to keep up with what's going on in the laws and what's going on amongst the community and outside of the community and all the other different marginalized groups out there. Try to keep myself well informed and up to date with everything going on in this country. So with that said, Allie, I'll pass it back over to you, hon.
Technical
Technical
difficulty.
difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
Okay, so
Oh, no.
I wanted to try the in-ear unit for the longest time, and I couldn't determine if it was going to be worth my while. I should have stuck to what I knew was tried and true. So this girl has to learn some things. So, all right, with that being said, I am going to adjust some audio here to make sure that I can hear things correctly.
Shall we tell them how this is going to work?
Yeah, I'm going to let any one of the three co-hosts over here explain how this goes down. So you guys all have an understanding of how we're doing this. And, I talk a lot enough as it is. So I'll let one of them kind of explain what we're doing here and how this works and what we planned with this format.
All right. So basically what we want to do each week is we're going to get different topics. This week, we all decided on how do we heal the deep divide in our country. And the way this is going to work is you're going to posit a question in the comments, okay? And we've got people behind the scenes that are going to point out these comments to us, or we'll do our best to take a look and see what your guys' comments are and try to react to them. But we want thoughtful questions because we really want to interact on these podcasts, right? We want to make it about the people listening. So questions, comments, concerns on the specific topic. Not every podcast is going to be just politics or religion or LGBTQIA. It's going to be different things, whatever we're feeling like talking about that week. But each week will be a different conversation. Any of you have anything to add to that?
No. So I think what we can consume and understand is we're going to start with this topic right here and how the conversation will just ping pong off of all four of us and where we want to go. It usually doesn't work in guest mode. All right, I'm going to have to research that, bestie. I promise you. I'll figure it out. And it may not be applicable in this perspective because I may just go over to the new the new aspect of it. So just so everybody's aware too, when you tune in, and we do this once a week, the plan is I'm going to probably move over to StreamYard, and then I'm going to publish on a new channel, and then cross between these two, so that way we have a platform capable that's accessible by all. So here's what's going to happen. This is the start of it. This is episode 1. Next week, I plan on pushing it over to StreamYard, where it's a lot more controllable. And I will probably pipe it out to a brand new YouTube channel that'll be designated and designed for this exact purpose, this exact brand of hot take news. And then we will be able to correlate that information and distribute it through the same podcast mechanism. That's essentially what it'll go down as. So yeah, we're just going to start with the topic today, which is here. And then as questions come in, I'm imagining, hello Brizzles, hello everybody, welcome in if you're a little bit late getting to the party. Thank you for joining. We'll have the behind the scenes individuals. If they want to take a notepad, for those of you out there, feel free to screenshot if you need to. And then we can do it in the Discord. You can just, I have my other machine. Actually, I have all of my machines up and running. I'm doing all of it. But yeah, we can just do it through Discord, and we can co-coordinate between there, and that'll make it really easy too. So if we can't pin, I've been noticing the pin issue's been a problem. So, all right, for everybody that's listening, and I don't have to say this to my 3 other amazing humans that are on the panel. They already know this topic. We've talked about it at length. The general question is, how do we heal here in our country from this deep divide that we have? Just like the topic says, how do we heal? What's the best way that we do that? You know, it's very divisive times right now, not just for marginalized communities, but the general populace as a whole. And that's very concerning, not just for, you know, us that sit on these lives and have discussions, right? Or when we talk off app and we're playing, you know, our games, we like Call of Duty, right? And that brings unity between us and relief from stressful days. But this has an impact on people's work, right? Look at what we're seeing around us. I mean, that's emotions aside, it's disgusting to see that people have this kind of agenda. And it's even more disconcerting that people are resorting to this emotional flashback mentality on how they respond, rather than have a good conversation with an oppositional force. And, you know, a lot of people would bring into the contention and say, oh, look what that happened just recently with the turn of events that happened. And I understand where that comes from. I really, really do. But the problem at the end of the day is that we've got to have some healing here. Like, I really don't know where to turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that, so Doris Kearns Goodwin and John Meacham both said that, you know, in today's political climates, it's starting to look a lot like 1850 when we had the Civil War. A lot of the similar things were going on, right? This side versus this side. This side's the enemy. This side's the enemy. I think for me, the biggest issue that I see is that humanity doesn't treat other humans like humans. Somehow we've become a society where I'm better than you because I'm this color, or I'm better than you because I have this job, or this standing in society. And for me, I think it's a systemic problem. That one starts with education, and 2, the pushing of religions again. And I think in history we could see that the pushing of religion never works well. How many countries failed for doing that? How many churches failed for doing that? How many societies failed for not having education and pushing, you know, that kind of over-the-top extreme views? I don't know. I don't know what everyone else thinks on that.
You know, yeah, I kind of have to agree, and I'll let Phoebe and Stacy kind of chime in on this too. I think at the end of the day, we all wake up and we all get dressed and do our due diligence to be affordant in society and provide for our families, and that's the critical, crucial point about it. But it seems like we've lost touch and lost track with just the basic human decency that should exist and be afforded to each and every one of us. Really, I think that, you know, Jedi, we talked about this on Monday or Tuesday post the event that happened to me, and I know Phoebe and Stacy know about this too. But you know, I had a turn of events that happened on Monday this week with my work, and I'm not going to go into a massive amount of detail, but it's really alarming when you posit the perspective of basic human decency to individuals to invoke critical thinking and to have them think out of the box, and that it's hard for them to do that, so they become emotionally irrational, and then they lash out at individuals. And as a society, we should be spending more time thinking out of the box and engaging in deep critical thinking and complex conversations so that we can understand other people and get a better way of how do we come to a solution. And, you know, teaching, learning, education, empathy, compassion, that's going to start the track path for healing, but we're not going to get there until we have, you know, people push the emotions aside, I think. What do you think, Phoebe and Stace?
I think part of that is, especially with how a lot of people in our society are now, is they forget that the things that happen to other people outside of their immediate family is going to affect them. Their neighbors, their people in the community, they all are contributing some way in your day-to-day life, whether or not you actually see these people every day. They could be people working at the stores. They could be people that are driving down the road, and something that happens to them can cross paths with you. And I feel like when we have children in school, they understand that a bit, especially if they're in a system where if someone in class does something, then it affects the whole class, and the whole class has to deal with the consequence, right? But as we become an adult, people kind of lose sight that that does still apply.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have to agree with you there, Phoebe. And one thing that I have noticed since coming off of traveling across this country is you used to see it in TV shows and even in real life, communities coming together at the end of a block somewhere, having these big shebangs. You don't see that anymore. And to be fair, I threw one here 2 weeks ago, just here for a few people here in my neighborhood. And honestly, we need more of that. We need more communities coming back together, getting out there in the middle of your street and playing freaking basketball, throwing a football, whatever it might be. Because when we don't do these things, when we sit here and we recluse into our houses because we're post a pandemic, put that behind you, people. Put that behind you and literally get out, talk to your neighbors, throw a football, throw a basketball, throw a baseball, throw ribs on your grill if that's what it takes. But get involved in your neighborhood. Get people to come over, go over to their house. Don't just be recluse into your house and be having to think, well, what they're doing next door doesn't bother me. What they're doing 4 houses down doesn't bother me. It bothers you because it's going to affect your neighborhood one way or another, whether you realize it or not, whether it's going to be direct or indirect. And we have to figure out how we can bring that back around full circle. So.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, you know, I think one of the things that's definitely different is the type of, you know, generation that we kind of grew up in, or predominantly grew up in, right? Was everything was outside, right? Like, we all spent a majority of our time in our childhood doing things like what you said, Stacy, you know, hosting backyard pool parties and things like that. Like, neighbors came together no matter where they stood within their political view or their religious view or their preference view, right? Like, it wasn't an issue. 20, 30 years ago until it became so polarized. And for what? At the end of the day, why are we polarizing something that had no effect 25 years ago and wasn't so super critical and hyper fixated on? And that just it's a little wild to me that we've kind of overlooked that, and we've, like what you said, Stacey, that's a really good idea, or a really good thought process. We've literally backed ourselves into a corner post-pandemic and turned into this defense mechanism as individuals, rather than opening the doors. Like, I hate to say this as an analogy, but this is the thing that I think of. It's kind of like, what is it? Shoot. There's a game out there that's post-apocalyptic, right? And everybody after the event happens.
Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout. And you open the doors, right? And everybody doesn't know what to do with the whole entire society around them. Like, where do we go? How do we survive? And instead of banding together, everybody's coming out of their doors and they're turning into this, like, holy shit, it's only survival of the fittest, fuck you, fuck him, fuck this, and, it's a conquest. And that's not how we should be approaching things right now, especially right now within the temperature and the climate we're in right now. The things we need to be focusing on are how to stick together with one another, how to identify a commonality for a large problem, even though we may disagree. And I know Jedi and Phoebe and Stacey have all heard me say this on lives just recently in the last 3 months. I would rather stand hand in hand with somebody that disagrees with me on stupid, petty, petulant bullshit that I've talked about on these panels from time to time. And we may not see it eye to eye, but at the end of the day, that's my neighbor, or that's somebody that knows that there's a bigger problem in this country, and there's a bigger problem going on around with our society that we need to figure out a solution together. Because we're not going to get anywhere unless we can't come together and figure out how to put everything on the table and hash it all out, and then, like, make prioritization of what we do next. Once we get to that point, then we can start focusing on things like looking at the diminishization of individuals as a whole, right? Like, who's been the largest, most affected by this? And I'm not saying that we play the woe is me card to every one of those kinds of groups or individuals. I'm not saying that at all. It's not play a woe is me thing. It's more along the lines of, how do we, just like you're triaging in healthcare, right? Which has got the most critical wounds, and how do we bandage that up so that that person can heal, or that group of people can heal? Because I'm telling you what, right now, like, this is not the way. This is absolutely not the way.
Yeah, we've had this conversation many times, just us being over at your house. The problem is now we're in a society that's, like, got this ultra tribalism.
Yeah.
And for everyone that doesn't know what that means, so what it means is like an us versus them kind of thing. And what we're forgetting in all this, on both sides, right, and the people in the middle, what we're forgetting is that we're all Americans. No matter who you vote for, what you believe in, who you pray to, we're all Americans. And I would hope that we all still believe in, the things that do make America such a good place, right? And what I mean by that, and it's very thin line, right? What I mean by that is, like, we do have things like freedom of speech. We do have things, like Second Amendment, whether you agree with them or not. We have them, right? We have things like, for now, gay marriage, where everybody's equal on the equal playing field marriage-wise. I think at some point we started to make great strides in equality for everybody across the board, but somehow, because of this tribalism, it's reverted back to, like, I would say 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of at a loss on how to fix this. Anthony Bourdain used to say, if all of us could sit down at a table, have a meal, share a meal, see that we're all individuals, but we're the same. We're all human beings. And it respect each other on that level, that the world could be a better place.
Yeah, I have to agree.
And I still believe that. And that goes back to what you were saying, Stacey. Nobody knows their neighbors anymore. Nobody is, having these block parties with everybody anymore. I remember as a kid the same thing. We used to have block parties almost every weekend. We would block off the ends of the streets, and everybody was welcomed. We didn't care if you were even from our street. We just wanted to know who our neighbors were and just have a good time. We didn't care if you were gay, straight, Republican, Democrat. We didn't care. Are you a good person? Awesome. That's all we cared about.
Right.
And we didn't judge you off your last election either. We didn't give two shits who you voted for in the last election. That was never even brought up back then. And now all of a sudden it's got to be the center point of every little thing you do is, well, who'd you vote for this last election? Knock that shit off, people. Let's go back to the early 2000s whenever we would literally sit there and have a conversation and politics not get brought up.
Yeah, we have affirmed no politics at our family meals because we're split down the middle. Me and my older sister are liberal. Even though I'm independent, I'm still liberal leaning. And my brother and little sister are Republican.
Yeah.
I've had full-on conversations with my brother-in-law who literally disagrees with almost everything I say, but we still find a common ground to agree to disagree, right? We agree on many things, like dehumanizing someone is an absolute no, right? We still agree on, he doesn't believe in abortion, but he believes that women still have that choice and that until men can have children, right? Talking about, not trans men. Until cis men can have children, they don't get to tell a woman when and where to create one, just like Tupac said.
All right.
And that's about all we agree on. But we still speak civilly with each other, and we don't hate each other.
Yeah. Aaron Non Sequitur down in the comments. You made a comment down there. I can't agree to disagree with people who think my child shouldn't exist as their gender.
I think we have to unpack that. Right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. It's not a matter of agree to disagree. In some ways, yes, it is, but in other ways, it's a deep critical thinking conversation between individuals to unpack where this comes from and why it's important to understand. We don't have to get into the grassroots. Like let's be so for real for a minute, right? We don't have to go into a therapeutic session and understand. Okay, here's $195 an hour. I need you to lay on my chaise lounger in my backyard and explain to me all of the things that affected you throughout your childhood, teen years, 20s, 30s, 40s, and why you have this purveyance against individuals who are different and maybe unique or have some kind of preference within their sexuality or have a difference in how their innate sense of self is in contrast to their, assigned sex at birth. That's just one example. We know that, and I'm going to be very, very cautious when I say this. This type of cautiousness and defensiveness was evident in the 40s, I think, going into the 50s and the 60s, with individuals of the BIPOC community. And that type of wall or roadblock is something that we're going to have to overcome on every side, not just left and right, not just left, right, and middle, but as a human species, as a basic society that exists here in this land that you occupy, right? Like, we have to look past a lot of these differences and unpack the things that are necessary to make sure that people are treated equally and given proper equity no matter how they stand or how they identify. Yeah, Laz, that's a good point. We're going to have one. Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. But, I mean, I don't know. There are a lot of different things that we'll come around and start to understand, right? Like how to heal from this. And you know, how do I say this? For the 24 that are here, the 170 that have viewed it, I love you all. But I'm going to say this very broadly and very, very brashly. It's going to take an act of fucking epic superpowers until we get shithead Chester Cheeto, fucking Mango Mussolini out of where he is. That and only that is what's going to start the evolution and the change within our society. That's it. That's the bottom fucking line. We've got to get past allowing fascism and dictatorship to rule how people communicate with one another, views that we may hold, and opinions. Like we can't be allowing individuals to control how our speech is broadcast or actually vocalized. And that's really what it boils down to, you know. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I mean, no, abso-fucking-lutely not.
Yeah. Phoebe, what you got on this?
Yeah, you're quiet down there.
Right.
A lot of the, well, I'm also staying on mute because in case my dog barks, because my neighbors are outside. But
Steve.
I think a lot of Steve.
We love Steve around here.
Conversations, I think too, like people want to have the conversations, but you have to be receptive to the information being given to you and have to like take it in versus like being instantly offended by it. And there's so much information that's out there and people don't know how to verify it. They just hear it. They're like, that has to be true. And I'll get it up in a minute. But like that video that I shared with you guys where it discussed like hearing information and how people were taking it in without actually knowing what was happening. But like we can have like conversations about, you know, people ask you about something you know a lot about, and then you give them information. They don't like that information, even though they know you're educated on the subject, and then they just get really upset about it versus like taking it in, like, okay, I should probably look into it. But let me, I made my notes. Let me pull up my notes. I sent it to Stacy. I had to like type it all out.
So real quick, Phoebe, while you're looking for those. So Hydrated said, the Republicans/MAGA feel the same way about liberal left. You must lead by example. What I would say to that is we have to stop pointing fingers. It's not you versus us or us versus you. We are all Americans. And until both sides and the middle stop pointing fingers and have honest and open conversations about fears, hopes, dreams, realities, nothing is going to change.
And I'll reiterate what I said earlier. We got to quit going back to this whole, well, who did you vote for this last election? And that's been a recent thing that we started doing all of a sudden. And I don't understand it. I probably never will understand it. But it's constantly, who did you vote for this last election? And I've caught my own self guilty of this. And it's bad that we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And to be fair, if we can break away from that mentality and we see somebody who has a pride flag outside their house or somebody with an American flag outside their house or sports teams, it doesn't matter. Strike up a conversation with them and have that conversation. It does not matter what it is, but find something that you can find common ground in with your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we got an offline message coming over here on the back channel. Stacy, did you see that? Phoebe?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Tart, Titan. Titan says they could start by not calling me an uneducated racist. Listen, that's what I keep saying. Both sides need to stop with the insults. Stop with this you versus us mentality. Both sides need to start coming to the table and actually doing good for the working class people.
Right.
It's the only way this country is going to fix itself.
Yeah. Phoebe,
Hey.
what did you... Enodian, are you there?
Yes, I didn't realize I was on the panel.
Normally we wouldn't be doing that, but like, yeah.
Right.
I haven't seen you in ages, and yeah, I'm happy to hear your voice. I'm sure the rest of us are too. We miss you more than I can put into words, but I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for your service.
I didn't mean to actually come up on panel. Did I request?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you did.
That's why we brought you.
Oh, my
Yeah.
bad.
Well, we took a group vote and it was unanimous yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'll just say one thing. I was actually typing that. Might have fat fingered it. That's how I got up here. Unfortunately, some people who they vote for or their politician becomes so much ingrained into their personal identity that it's almost a personal attack on them if someone disagrees with that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
The whole identity politics needs to end.
Hmm.
Like, personally, I don't care who you voted for. I care about your character, your person, who you are to your core. That's what I care about.
Right.
And I have to agree with you there, Jedi. I mean, to be fair, I don't care who votes what in an election. And when you show me that you are a good person, then to me that ultimately tells me who you are. We've seen it before where people will just start bashing somebody, and this can be even out in public, not just on social media, but start bashing somebody just because of the fact they voted for the opposite party.
Yeah.
And Phoebe, did you find the notes?
I did find my notes. Okay.
Okay. Love you all. Drop it down.
Bye.
Thank you, Nadia.
Good to see you.
Love you, Nadia.
Love you.
Okay. So I have the longer version. So on the video that I found, it really broke it down when it comes to messaging that people are putting out there. And the couple of steps to kind of get you on board with the messaging, and then people not really thinking they need to follow up on this. So the first thing that they're going to usually say is an inflammatory statement about a subject. It's gonna seat you into, oh my God, what is this? And it sounds really bad. But then they're going to do step 2, which is inoculating, which is then they're going to make like a really nice statement. So maybe the first statement wasn't really that bad. And we'll kind of like boost like, oh no, this is like morally probably where I should be with the first statement. And then the person talking is going to frame themselves as they're an expert in this topic, and they're going to tell you something that you didn't know, and you're not going to need to look it up because they're an expert. And then that will go into step 4, which is a specificity illusion. So it's going to be a loaded example to kind of poison the well. Like this is really bad. And it's going to anchor back to the first thing that they said. So what ends up being the shortened version of what that looks like is it's an inflammatory dog whistle immediately followed by a statement that's going to deny or soften the first statement that's then going to rationalize it. And then they're going to double down on the things that made it bad. So like stuff that we've been hearing about pilots, people becoming pilots, and people worrying about the diversity of pilots without having any idea of the amount of work and the amount of testings and certifications you have to do and flight hours to be signed off to become a pilot.
It's confirmation bias. They have no real education or backing in it or knowledge of what it actually is. It's just something they've been told to say. And that goes on both sides. I don't want anyone in the comments to think that just because I vote a certain way or don't vote a certain way, that's where I'm leaning. What I'm saying, and what probably everyone is saying on this panel, that it happens on both sides, right? We get a MAGA person that comes up and we automatically assume, oh, this is going to go bad. And then they surprise us with having an actual, educated, amazing conversation, right? From a place of like substance, not just garbage thrown at them.
Right.
So we're all guilty of it, right?
Yeah, we've all done it.
Yeah. Sorry, Phoebe, go ahead.
No, you're right. And it's a lot of, it's, people really need to remember, if you hear a lot of this stuff floating around, they need to know how to look into it to gather the right information. And, because like too often we hear people, they use like, what was it, like the Google AI at the top, but then they don't actually like go and look where that information is coming from to make sure it actually is like feeding you the right information. And with as much as people interact with AI, I mean, you can't even get it to edit pictures right if you want it. You tell it to shrink something down and it says, okay, and then it doesn't do it.
It shrinks the actual graphic and not the picture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Shrink shrink these letters 50%. Okay, the letters are the same size. What did you just do?
Right.
So AJ, good point, right? Government websites aren't reliable anymore, because they've taken down anything that can actually help the masses.
Right,
But
or they're being scrubbed.
I do have some. So some nonprofits that you can start with. And this goes on both sides, guys. I hope that both sides are listening to this, right? Nonprofits to start with. We've got the Listen First Coalition, okay? The Bridging Movement Alignment Council. You've got, so the last one I just told you, the Bridging Movement Alliance Council, what they're employing is Political Courage Challenge. And what they're doing is, I was reading a little bit about it before we came on here. What they're doing is they're challenging people to specific questions to get to the core of what is dividing both sides. Whether that be, what's the word I'm looking for? So whether it be like, are people you're looking up to the reason why you're doing this, or mental health, things like that. They're doing a really good job to kind of get to the core of what's going on in the country before it erupts like 1850.
My apologies. Wife came through, new phone showed up, so. Somebody said something down there. I wanted to focus on it because it was an interesting perspective. Where is it?
I think something also too, just because there is that worry that stuff is not going to be on the government websites, is if there is something that is important, that it would be a good idea to like download it or save it in case it disappears. Like for me, I had it on my phone. I did not have it on my computer, so I'm getting it on my computer. But the 1994 resolution of the U.S. government apologizing for how they annexed Hawaii, like that might go away. So we're gonna download that, so I have it.
Yeah. Somebody up in the comments said something about a Mott and Bailey approach and argument. And, it's interesting that you bring that up because, I've been spending the last 2 and 3 months trying to educate myself in different debate fallacies and different debate tactics and aggression versus regression when we have these conversations. And like Phoebe said, you got to be culpable and capable of allowing, and, a lot of people will laymanly put it down to having an open mind, right? Like, clear your pretenses and allow for the information that's passing in front of you or being presented to you. Allow yourself to process that without using judgment, right? And that's essentially what Mott and Bailey is. It's a rhetorical tactic where an arguer presents a controversial discussion point, and it's often difficult to defend, but the way that when it gets challenged, they immediately shut down and resort to a personal argumentative attacks against the person who's asking the question. That's a Mott and Bailey tactic. And that doesn't, those kinds of positionals don't create unification between the two sides that are debating. They create division, and they fuel fire to the flame. And that's what we've got to stop doing, right? Phoebe brought up some great people, or some great points with regards to how people should be, approaching this, and that's really what it boils down to. Like, Britt says it there too. It's people who don't want to understand. Yeah, right. Like, band them together too. I hate to say this, but you put them all in a pool, and it just becomes one large echoing, all the same
Echo
thing.
chamber.
It's an echo chamber. It's very passe to say, because it's like, or cliche and passe, because we hear that a lot too. People come into our lives, and whether Stace hosts it or Jedi hosts it or I host it, and people will comment in the bottom and like, oh my god, it's another echo chamber. It's an echo chamber to you, because that's what seems to be what you're hearing. But the reality is some people will actually take a moment to engage in conversation topics, and not be up there to be argumentative and combative. It's more along the lines of, like, how do I push proper amounts of education to people in an affordant manner? I actually got called out on this yesterday. Some older gentleman was like, maybe you think it's about the way that you approach, the way that you education, and the way that you speak to people. And I said, are you referencing me directly? And he said, yeah, actually I am. And I said, well, then let me ask you a question. If you do the same thing over and over again, expecting to get different results, is that not definition of insanity? And he said, yes. I said, so then wouldn't it be more probable that I change my approach tactic in those certain situations with certain individuals, with those certain individuals? If I change my approach tactic that matches their energy, do you think that I have a better chance of going further with them in the conversation, or actually just being shut down? And he goes, probably going further. And I said, that's my point. Like, yeah, to you, it may seem like an echo chamber, and we may sound like we're just going off the cuff over and over and over and over again, and I get it. But for you to come in and say, oh, my goodness, like, it just sounds like you're being very dismissive and you're talking and condescending down to them. And I'm like, I've afforded people, I don't need to be palatable is what it boils down to. Jedi doesn't need to be palatable. Phoebe doesn't need to be palatable, and Stacy doesn't need to be palatable. And anybody that's in this damn live right now, you all don't need to be palatable just so people open their damn ears and listen to what we're saying, right? Like, it's not about being palatable. It's about spending time being stable in your position and have grace among each side when you start to talk to people. That's where it comes into. You can afford grace for so long, and then there comes a critical threshold, and each one of us has a different level. I guess tend to be, as I've been told, a lot more patient than other people. But I don't know. I don't think so. Sometimes I think I'm just a little bit more aggressive than others, and I get a little bit pragmatic. And
I think my issue is I can't handle willful ignorance.
Yeah.
That just taps me over the edge. Like, I have patience so far, but when you are just being willfully ignorant, I lose it. I just don't have... I think today's day and age, we have no place for willful ignorance.
No, we really don't. And I mean, and I'm going to say this, piggybacking off of that right quick, Jedi. We have literally supercomputers in the palm of our hands that walk around everywhere with us. You have no reason to not be looking up information while you're doing something. Like, I'll be driving down the road. Thankfully, my headset can go straight to my Google. And I'll be going, okay, what does this mean? Because I'll hear something being said somewhere, either on the radio or listening to another different podcast. anywhere. Well, okay, what exactly does this mean? So I'm looking this up while I'm listening or while I'm driving because I need the knowledge. I don't want to sit there and remain ignorant on something and wind up forgetting what I was ignorant of, and then later on trying to figure that out.
Right.
So, I mean, and that's what we've got to remember is, I mean, literally, I'm looking at my partner's work setup right now, 4 screens.
Yeah, you have a mini computer right here. Like,
right. About to say, I mean, got my tablet right there. One of 2 right there.
And I think all of us are really good too, as if someone's not understanding, like we will try and explain it multiple ways from different angles to see if we can get the way that they need to listen. But then sometimes we'll become frustrated because they'll start to get it, but then they don't want to listen further than that.
Yeah, and you're right.
Yeah.
They want.
Go ahead.
The problem with today's society is we have the attention of a squirrel. We are so programmed to pay attention to such a small aspect of what's going on. And then once that 30 seconds, minute and a half, however long it is, you've programmed your mind to focus on that. As lapsed, that's it. You're done. You forgot what happened 30 minutes ago. And you're sitting there going, well, what was I doing 30 minutes ago? Whenever you get somebody to ask you that question.
Yeah. I think that social media, as great as it's been in certain aspects, has been the downfall of humanity. Nobody goes outside anymore. Nobody interacts with people. Everyone's a keyboard warrior. You know, we grew up in a day and age where we didn't, pick up pew-pews to unalive people. If we had a problem with somebody, we said it face to face and hashed it out that way, whether it be with throwing hands or, conversations, but nobody unalived from it.
right.
Now we're in a day and age where mental health is not being discussed. It's not celebrated. And you've got people growing up with extreme mental traumas
Yeah.
and no outlet to put it, so they hop on social media or, do things like the past things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an instant resort to the worst form of violence that they can come up with, rather than invoke a sense of compassion or empathy to handle a situation, and maybe, like what we did. I mean, I know that sounds really bad, but like in our generation, like you were taught if you got problems with them, you face to face, right? Like, let's go out, let's have let's throw some bows, right? I know that's bad to say, but like for educational purposes, TikTok, we love you out there. Then F1's in the chat and TikTok shop. But when we reflect on generational changes, there was a massive difference. Like, take John Hughes, The Breakfast Club, right? Perfect example. You want a great movie that talked about the generation and what it was like back then for a lot of us. That's a prime example of what it was. You had Judd Nelson going around and he was talking to Emilio Estevez, and they were in the library and things got all, for lack of a better word, got all fuckadoo, and they decided to throw bows right there in the library. And then they got done and they became best friends. Not really best friends, but you get my point. But that's the kind of stuff that we have to think about. Like, I'm not saying that we resort to going out and trying to like get into fisticuffs with other people because you have a disagreement. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, like, there are a lot more productive ways and beneficial ways to society to handle conflict, rather than just sitting around and being like, the first thing I need to do is draw down on a pew-pew and take care of business. That's not acceptable. Like, please, if you're listening to this podcast later, or you're listening right now, believe all 4 of us when we say this. Like, we don't advocate for that aspect of any society or any individual, right? But we do need to hold one another accountable and culpable for our actions and our behaviors, And especially when it comes to that question I posed when we first started this podcast earlier today or earlier this evening. Do you think it's better for society for you to run around with negative rhetoric and you're gonna do that for 4 or 5 years? Do you think that that's going to bring unification among the society that you're actually talking to, or the differences on the two sides? Or do you think it's better to go at an approach where you can have impactful and neutral statements and neutral solutions between individuals, right? Like, which one is going to be better for society? And that's going to involve things like deep conversations and such. Yeah, Stacy, that's correct. You're on the point with that number. I've got it in front of me too. I think, and I'm gonna try this out. We're gonna see how this works. We have 15 minutes left in the show today because we all agreed. And I'm not asking the three of you. I'm saying for our wonderful audience. Thank you so much once again for all you guys being out there for the first podcast edition of Hot Take News. Your lovely hosts, myself, Allison, co-host Jedi, co-host PB, co-host Stacy. But I think what I want to do for the last 15 is what Stacy, what Phoebe, and what Jedi also said at the beginning. I want to turn it over for the next 15 minutes. I want you guys to think very, very deeply and come up with a question. And let's see if we can Q&A for the last 15 minutes. Here comes our first question. When you say hold accountable, can you explain what you mean? My grandpa used to say this. If you think that you open your mouth or you act on something and you don't believe that there's going to be repercussions or consequences, you are sorely mistaken, end quote. And what that means is you need to be held accountable for if you say some fuck shit or you do some fuck shit, that you're going to be held accountable for your actions. Or if you do something positive, you are going to be held accountable and probably reprised about that. That's the kind of stuff I'm saying.
Yeah, for me, it's accountability and what it's going to do to you, right? So if we all walk around just grimacing all day and so much hate in our heart, that has an effect on your mental state, right? I want everybody to try this too. I want you to spend 5 minutes just thinking mean things, right? Frowning, like actively frowning. And then I want you to spend 5 minutes smiling and thinking of happy things, right? The psyche of the two are so variant, right? And like Hydrated said, yes, you hold pew-pewers accountable, 100%. And there's a reason why we haven't said that person's name, right?
Right.
Kind of done talking about them. I will say one thing to it, right? And this comes straight from a pastor. When you live your life spewing so much vile hatred and racism, there's consequences to that. For me, it's more of a mental consequence, right? To your core, are you really that angry, that sour inside? Now, we've all said, we do not condone violence whatsoever. Let me make that clear. We do not condone violence. When you live your life with that much hatred in your heart, it has the opposite effect, right? There's that yin and the yang. Eastern medicine teaches us that. There's yin and yang. And I try to walk through life being giving, being happy. Does it happen all the time? No. Ali can tell you. Phoebe can tell you. Stacy can tell you. I lose my shit just like everybody else.
Well, I think we're all guilty of that.
Right. But
yeah, I'm about to do it right now. I keep hearing things clamoring around on the roof and the ceiling above me, and I'm starting to panic.
But for the most part, I try to be a happy person. I try to lead with the right foot to start my day off like that. And it does so much more for your mental state. Even if I'm feeling like crap, I'm like, listen, let's do this. Let's get up, do what we got to do. You'll feel better soon. Change your thinking, right? Get around other people, interact, and it just brightens your whole aura about you.
Right.
Apparently,
We have here, Laz. How do we counter the intentional lack of education and removal of critical thought? That's a tough one. And I don't really think that any one of us, I mean, I consider myself extremely educated and very articulate. But I think the only person that's really going to be able to approach that one in any way, shape, or form is probably Phoebe. Like, I would say something sarcastic, and this is what I'll say before I turn it over to Phoebe. You know how we do that intentional lack of education and removal of critical thought? Take away all the bullshit fucking social media.
Yeah.
Bye.
So part of the hard issue is you can't make adults do anything, right? If they don't want to learn, they're going to give you every excuse under the sun. Like, people claim that they are so busy, but you can listen to things while you drive. Audiobooks are a thing. Podcasts can be free. You can listen to news segments while you're driving. Like, I used to commute to play for a sports team. I can't tell you how many books I listened to. I would never have been able to sit and read Game of Thrones. Those books are so long, and even when they're read, like, one of them was at least 30-something hours.
yeah, they were a lot.
Right, but that's a lot of information you can gather. My spouse loves to listen to books on history when he drives. It's just that people have to make the effort to do it as adults. But when it comes to kids, they are blank slates, and there is so much we can teach them on how to analyze things. I didn't think to do it this week. We got math homework sent home. I will have to take pictures of all the things they put in here to teach these kids strategies on learning math, because it is totally different from when we were children. I understand some of it. I was also highly confused because I had not helped him with this math homework. So luckily there was examples included in there. So I was making sure he was actually doing the examples versus trying to do it the way I want to do it. But like, at least when it comes to kids, we can set them up by teaching them how to source information. Like us growing up without regularly having internet to do it, and the fact that everything gets updated so quickly. When we were real little, we had encyclopedias and manually looked through it, and that was only the encyclopedia that was printed at a certain time. And if that encyclopedia is a year old, there's updated information now. And now is this updated information on the internet, like, is it coming from a good source, or is it like a random person updating Wikipedia? And just also people realizing, like, a lot of colleges have free classes. Libraries can help you. Libraries are especially good for helping you learn how to source information properly. Because people need to do it.
Yeah, education is free in a lot of different ways. You just got to activate the resources and do things, right? Like, bye, Britt, by the way. I saw you down there. Got to run. I feel you. AJ says, yeah, and not spending the audiobooks in free time and just scroll Facebook for 3 hours. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And it's just, sometimes I think it's also, and I mean, this is just a philosophical perspective. I think that there's a potentiality that there's just an over, what's the word I'm looking for?
There's an over-emulsion of just about everything nowadays.
Yeah, and then also like an over-presentation or information overload and information vomit. Do you get what I'm saying? Like sometimes there's just so much that nobody knows which direction to turn and look and say, oh, this looks like this could be factually correct or this could be factually correct, right? Like bing, 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 and like doing deductive reasoning and deductive elimination to make sure that the critical points that are factual align with that, right? Like I think there's just a surplus and an overload of information that gets presented in multiple different ways, like that it can be a little bit daunting, but then it just makes... Then I think that goes back to a psychological deficit of like the once it becomes too overloaded, then there becomes no drive to parse through it, right? It just becomes so much that people shut down, right? Like, and I really don't. I guess that goes back to the funny thing of me saying, get rid of all the social media, but like, that's not the solution, really.
People need to learn how to use social media better. Like if it gives you, I think it's great if I hear something, I'll go search it up and find out more information, but I try to curate it. So like, here comes August and September. My social media knows it is time for Renaissance fairs and Dragon Con. So that's all what I'm getting right now.
Right.
And then I've accidentally gotten myself on Japanese housing because I really like living in those
Yeah,
lands.
don't get me started with that, because Corey does the same thing, and she wants to do this whole entire thing in the house here, and I'm like, baby, like.
Oh no, is she looking at the new builds?
No, I haven't. Like, don't get it.
Phoebe, don't do it.
Don't do it.
No, Phoebe, no. Corey.
She was actually listening to an audiobook and doing dishes right now because I had to go up the stairs because I couldn't figure out what this was. I was like, did you drop something? Did you break glass? And she goes, no. I'm like, did you drop something and you just didn't hear it because your AirPod Pros are in your ears and noise cancels a thing? And she just looked at me with that real soft look like, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, something dropped a ball, like what sounded like a bowling ball above my head. Like, you explain how that noise came when you're over there above that side and I'm right here and it sounds like the earth is falling. Like, we got a problem here.
I've actually created a game if a video pops up and it's the Ren fairs I go to of trying to see if I could find myself in the background.
Where Speedy?
That's awesome.
It's very
I've
distinctive
put myself
when people recognize me.
I've made a new task for me for Ren Fair next year. I need to find the pickle man.
Oh.
Reese?
Yeah.
The
He's in New
pickle.
York.
The pickle man.
The pickle
He's
man.
in New York. Yeah.
Well, every Ren Fair has their own.
Every one of them's got one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have
but
to
there's
find
that specific guy that his videos are really funny.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I repost those videos all the time.
I'm starting to see videos of people who cosplay the workers. I recently saw one of a kid who was dressed as the peanut guy with the big peanut bowl, and he had the little bags that said nuts on them. It was so cute.
I love it. Where we at time-wise?
We have 2 minutes.
2:47.
We have
2
2:47.
minutes.
2
All right.
minutes.
Shall we do my ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Pete.
Go ahead, Pete.
Laz, I was there. I didn't go that weekend. That's my fair. I'm going closing weekend on Saturday.
Nice. So we all talked before this podcast, and I sent a quote that I kind of put together. And I think it would have lasting effects if you sit and think about the meaning of what I'm going to say for a little while and kind of do like Michael Jackson said. Look at the man and woman in the mirror and think about how you can change, right? Because change starts with each of us. And actively think about what can you do to help bridge this divide. And what I put together was we all share in this experiment called humanity. And we all must learn to live, love, laugh, and mourn, and celebrate our differences, or we face the same failures of past civilizations.
Yeah.
I have to agree.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us on the top of the hour. For all of you wonderful guests who've stayed here and listened for this past hour, we appreciate you so much. And for all the gifts that you have given, the likes that you have pushed, 42,000. I can't say thank you enough. Big shouts out to the top gifters that I see up here. We got a Nodian at the top, Christina number 2, Gimme number 3, Jedi number 4, AJ number 5, Laz number 6. All of you, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you've done, gifting to the panel, gifting to me. I know we all appreciate it, but I want to tell you all, as we close out today's episode and this evening's episode, be sure to pay attention to any of our local channels that we are in, whether that's a DM to Jedi, DM to Phoebe, DM to Stacy, or DM to myself. You will get links or see things published where it has access to this podcast in the future and where we're going to go with it, and then establish some different resources for people, whether that's a Discord that we already have that Stacy might actually re-architect. I'm going to probably launch a new YouTube channel. That way we can have a different medium for it so people can engage a lot more fluidly and we're not restricted by TT's positional. And then I might do something that Britt said, which is create a link tree, which will create access to different ways you can get into, say the Discord, or you want to reach out to one of us directly or something, or access the Spotify playlist where we'll publish these podcasts. But I promise you, this is not the only podcast we're doing. We are going to go through with this methodology probably for quite some time, because this is something we are very passionate about. And I know we all want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all of you coming in here. We want to wish you all a good night. Stacy, go ahead.
I'm going to go on ahead and add this. Guys, if y'all want, because I am going to repurpose my old Discord that doesn't really get used anymore for the podcast. Allie, Jedi, Phoebe, and I, we will all get together and work something together and make it where it's better than what it is now. But message any of the 4 of us. We will get you access in there. If I'm sure Allie still has all the biometrics up to get into it. Okay. So yeah, message any of the 4 of us. We're more than willing to send y'all links over to it. This way you guys know when we do this live every Friday, this is the first one of many. And hopefully, fingers are crossed here, first one of the year, and we'll be doing this for years down the road.
Yeah, that's the hope. So with that, we would like to say, every one of you, have a great rest of the weekend, because it is the start of the weekend. It is a Friday. Hope you all had a great week. Work wasn't too hard. Remember to smile, laugh, and tell someone you love them, because we're only here for a short period of time. And I thank you all for coming in. Thank you, Jedi. Thank you, Phoebe. Thank you, Stacy. Have a happy weekend. We love you all. Stay tuned till next week on the next episode from Hot Take News.
Bye, everyone.
Love y'all.
Goodbye.